Hello, all. Good evening. First of all, let me welcome all of you to second CPD of this year on contracts management and contracts review. So first, let me just introduce a brief introduction about QServe Consultant. QServe Consult is a firm which formed by two close friends basically, and your trust is basically our responsibility. Our target is basically to empower your journey towards MRICS and ensure an MRICS accreditation. A few words about myself. My name is Mithun Suvarnan. I'm a chartered county surveyor. I'm having MRICS certification plus MIQS, CPP, and currently I'm pursuing law and CIPS. I'm working as a group manager contractor procurement with one of our client in UAE. Let us not waste much of time on that introduction. Let me go direct to the topic. So, if you attend my previous session, we have discussed deep into the contracts and principles of contracts. And so, in this second session of contracts management, we're going to explain how you will review a contract. Imagine if you have a contract in your hand, where would you start reviewing? So why did we pick this topic basically? Because contracts review is essential. If you are a quantity surveyor or a contracts manager, contract administrator, or a cost manager, it's completely important. Like you should know how to review the contracts. And if you are a MRICS chartered surveyor, the client will look up to you for this your due diligence and your skill on reviewing the contract. Besides all, as an MR, if you want to achieve MRICS accreditation or a status, it's very important to have a strong understanding of contracts and its administration and management. That is the reason we pick this topic at CPD so that you will understand all about the contracts. Let us go one by one, step by step. So in this CPD, we're going to touch base the main, I would say, ingredients of contracts or contracts management, like the purpose of contract, essentials of contract, confidentiality and intellectual property rights, sufficiency of clauses, obligation of parties, risk and opportunities, and safeguard mechanism, dispute and remedies, force majeure, and frustration. If you know or if you have a basic understanding of these terms, trust me, guys, you can review any contracts. Let us go to the first thing, which is the purpose of a contract. So, guys, first thing, before you open a contract, understand the purpose of that contract. Why do we need that contract? Why that contract is being prepared? Don't straightly jump into the contract and start highlighting item by item. No, don't do that mistake, guys. So, first thing, if your employer or your line manager give you a contractual review, first you understand why this contract is being formed, the purpose of that contract. Is it a concession contract agreement? Is it a confidentiality agreement? Is it a claim agreement? Is it a settlement agreement? Is it a NDA? You have to first, that's the first point. When you got the contract, so that's the first point. You have to understand which is that contract is for. So imagine if you have a contract for a confidentiality is in your hand, and if you approaching that contract as a concession contract, it's not going to help you. So the first point, the first checklist when you start the contract review, understand the purpose of contract. So in last session we explained in detail about the contract. So contract is basically a legally binding document agreement between two or more parties. That's been explained in crystal clear way in last session. And now, when you know the basics or definition of contract, now you will understand the purpose of contract also. So the contract which is prepared is for the concession agreement, sale agreement, or a settlement agreement, whatever be it. From that point, you can review, you can look into clarity of roles, You can look into risk allocation. You can look into legal perspective. You can look into frameworks, and you can look into the backbone of the contract. So that, but why I'm emphasizing this point, if you have a construction agreement in hand, you have to review such a way that that perspective of clarity, risk, legal, and framework. Okay, let us go to, once you understand the purpose, let us move to second point of that. First, guys, 1 second, I want to emphasize. As of now, we haven't opened the contract. We have just understand the contract. Okay, that means we just open the contract. Now we're going to open the contract. So first thing, you have to ensure all the essentials of contracts are met. Okay, that means the contract contains each of the principal requirement of the contract. So offer, acceptance, consideration, legality and lawful, capacity of party, free consent, possibility of performance, certainty of terms, not declares void, and necessary legal formality. First, when you understand the purpose of contract, second is this thing. Okay, you've opened the contract now. Now it's time to open the contract. You open the contract. Okay, first thing, check whether there is an offer is there. Yes, offer is there. The offer means the contractor is agree hereby offering to carry out the work for 100 million. That is the contractor's offer. So offer is there. So first point is there. So contractor's offer, or other way around, employer's offer is there. That's the first thing. Okay, that means the contractor or employer's offer. Let me give you two examples. So I am giving an offer to my friend. Dear my friend, I would like to sell my car for 10 lakhs rupees. That's my offer. He can accept or he can reject it. But in other way, he is telling a counter offer. Mithun, I can buy your car for 7 lakhs. That's the counter offer. Now he give me the offer. Now it's my turn to accept that. Okay. So we then first point we will look into offer and acceptance. So there is an, if there is an offer, you put a tick mark in a checklist. Yes, offer is there. There is an unconditional offer is there. Second, as a client, are you going to accept it unconditionally or not? Similarly, offer is accepting, giving unconditionally or not. Yes, as a client, I'm going to accept it unconditionally. In our previous example, where I'm going to sell my car for 10 lakhs, if he said, I can buy it for 10 lakhs if you change all the 4 tires. That is not an unconditional offer. That is a conditional offer. In that case, the second point or first point is not there. Then there is consideration, which is money. So check what is the consideration is mentioned in the contract or not. You, if the contract price is there, you put a tick mark there also. So you start opening Excel. First, purpose of contract, tick mark. Second, offer, tick mark. Third, acceptance, third, tick mark. Fourth, consideration, tick mark. Then legality. You cannot prepare a contract for an illegal activity. If there is a contract, you prepare it for kill someone, it's illegal. If you prepare a contract to import alcohol illegally or prepare weapons, that's all illegal. Then you put a cross mark. From that point, the contract become void or illegal. Then, guys, capacity of parties. This is very important. Okay, capacity of parties. You have to ensure the party who signed the contract has the capacity. This is the reason we ask contractor to submit their commercial license and the power of attorney. In commercial license, you should check whose name is there. So that party has to sign the contract. If not, you have to ask, if some ex party or other party sign the contract, you should ask for a power of attorney. Ask, give me a power of attorney showing this person is authorized to sign the contract. So that is capacity of party you should check. Eventually, you can ask for his passport copy or maybe to check his age and details. Then free consent, concession contract eventually form with free consent. Sometimes in tenders, we will include a form called free consent form to ensure that the tenderer submit the contract or submit their proposal without any forceful or influence or threatening. Now possible to perform becomes the contract you're preparing should be possible to perform. You cannot give a contract to send a rocket to the moon. That's not possible. You cannot give a small contractor to a contract to prepare a Burj Khalifa. That also you have to check. Then certainty of terms, of course, if not your the terms you write should be easy to interpret, and it should not be ambiguous, and there should not be discrepancy. That also you check and put a tick mark. Then other two items, which is not declared void and necessary legal formalities, purely depends on the country to country. Some countries you want contract to be right in a stamp paper or through government procedures. But some other country you can have man-to-man agreement, contractor to employer agreement is possible in a normal paper with sign and stamp. But if there is a requirement of preparing contract in stamp duties and all, you pay stamp duty, prepare contract in stamp paper, do the needful. That purely depends on your country, law of the land, everything. So first thing, you understand the purpose of the contract. Second thing, you check all the ingredients of contracts are met. When only these two terms are met, then only the contract is valid only. If not, it's a void contract. A void contract, there is no point you went through and identify risk, you mark that obligation, you put this risk, you identify many things, there's no point. The first thing you have to ensure this contract is not void or not voidable. For that purpose and ensure essentials of contracts are met. Let us go to next important thing, which is the confidentiality and intellectual property right. You might be wondering why this is so important in this thing, because eventually I'm going to review the contract, I'm going to review the obligation, I'm going to review the scope of the work. Why I should worry about confidentiality? Let us look from the ceiling top. So when if you are an employer and you are going to launch a multi luxury project, and if you send an RFP or a request for quotation to some supplier or a subcontractor or a contractor, it will have the document which you send definitely will have some information about the project. So you don't want to do that. You don't want this contractor to spread that details to somebody else, to a third party. Sometimes what happens when contractor, maybe small contractor, he might be come to prepare a sales center only. Suddenly he will put the details into his website straight away. He will put his social media. I got a contract for this company, this much multi-billion project and all. This is your project, and you want to launch a project, and you want the world let know from your side only, not somebody others should introduce or launch or inform about your project. You should be the one who should introduce your project. For that purpose, ensure confidentiality is on place. For that purpose only, we have NDAs, we have confidentiality agreements in place. So before every contract you start, you have to ensure the confidentiality is met. Contract is a gentleman agreement. Good faith and fair deal is important. So even though you have to ensure in a second level confidentiality is met. Because if it's not met, your competitors will come to know about the project before you announce. They may prepare even better one, and you will be struggling. So confidentiality is a very, very important term. Now let us talk about second important, which is intellectual property rights. If you are working in a company like a Microsoft or a Google or some multi-dimensional construction company who have different technologies, so when you will be, if you are a consultant or you someone working for them as a contractor, eventually you will know something about that, and eventually you will get time to work for it, and you may get some access to work in those systems. But that is their intellectual property rights. Those system or those product has intellectual property. There's innovative thing. You cannot randomly misuse those items. So when you enter into contract, you have to ensure your IP rights are protected. If your company's interests are protected, so that means you have to ensure there is a confidentiality that will not put your company in a risk. Similarly, there is a IP rights which will not put your company or your company's interests are safeguarded. So guys, one more thing. Remember, we yet to open the contract, okay? We haven't opened the contract as of now. We just check the principles, purpose, and now we ensure confidentiality and IP rights are met. But nowadays, there is a lot of cyber crimes, a lot of cyber crimes happening around the world. So people and clients are so peculiar about protecting their rights and protecting from cyber crimes. So those requirements, sometimes they may ask for the insurance also. If my company is a huge developer or a huge software developer, I would ensure, like, in any way, I don't want some hackers to sneak into my system and destroy my information. So I will ensure the cyber security is ensured. It's purely depends on your company, your project, your domain, everything. So in that perspective, you have to look from the ceiling. Minimum you ensure these are met. So now you are safe to open the contract. Okay, because now only we are opening the contract. Let's imagine we open the first page of the contract. Let's see the clauses. Now only we are going to look into the clauses. So we open the contract. What I would do is, like, I will look in the first page or an index page and I would see which all clauses are there. If one contract, okay, when you start the contract, there's three main things, which is time, quality, cost. There is a timeline for the contract. There is a cost, which is a contract price, and quality requirement, which is specification and drawing other requirement. So this minimum requirement has to met, right? It's a very basic. I'm telling it's very basic, like time, quality, cost. So when I say sufficiency of the contract, at least in a very basic way, these three should be met. But that is not sufficient for sure. So you need to have some mechanism to understand the roles of parties. What as an employer he should do, what as a contractor you should do, what as a engineer, as a consultant you should do, and what if you are not doing your duties. So that is very important, guys. So duties of party, and party has to define. So what you do basically, you will define. Engineer means what? Contractor means, I'm talking about a very small contract. What is engineer? What is contractor? Then what is cost means? You define those terms. Okay? You basically defining those terms. Secondly, you will understand contractor has to consider, employer has to provide money, employer has to ensure this right of access, and as an engineer, he should review the drawings, review the shop drawings, provide access, approvals, everything you are to check and verify. That is second thing. Okay, so first thing what I'm talking is basically the required mode of definition. Then you have to mention the parties' obligations are rightly identified and included in the contract. So now obligations are clear. Now let us go to the time. So you have to look into the time when the contract should finish. Second, what if the contract is not finished on time? Third, what if it's delayed due to a reason because of a cause attributed to the contractor? So these 3 points, forgot about FIDIC, forgot about any standard form of contract. If you got a bespoke form of the contract, you should look into these points firstly. If there is a time control mechanism is there or not. If time control mechanism is there, you are safe in that perspective. So there is a time, duration is mentioned. If not met at duration, there is a penalty. And if there is a EOT, that also you covered. So time also you covered over there. Now, Since there is obligations been identified, time also identified. Now let's look into the cost part of it, which is payment. Cost or money is the blood of the concession. Without money, you cannot survive in concession, and your project will be lose completely. There's no money. So to ensure success of the project, you should check where is payment mechanism is mentioned. What is the payment term? How do you going to pay? Is the check? Is it LC payment? Is it a direct payment? Is it a bank investment? All these things you have to mention in the contract, or you have to make sure those terms are there in the contract. So I said we are talking about the sufficiency of the contract. So first, like obligation, then the time, then the payment cost. So time cost payment is there. Now we look into that. If there is changes, which is variations and provision should be there. This, if you have this clauses, you are safe in terms of your project, as called time, quality, cost, impacts are covered. So eventually, quality part, you can control through a specification or a methodology under a contractor's obligation. Now let's look into the worst case scenario of the contract. Now what you look, these 3 4 points, purely you imagine contract is performed without any fault. That means nothing happening. A good contractor, a good employer, all good case scenario. But again, as a contract manager, you should be thinking of worst case scenario also. So next you should look into worst case scenario. Is there a insurance provision is there? How are they going to safeguard me? Is there a performance security provision is there? How do you going to safeguard me? If the dispute resolution is there, how do you going to safeguard me? If there's a provision for termination, suspension is there, and how are you going to safeguard? So second, I usually split the contract into two types. The first, basically obligation part, I would say, like parties obligation, payment, then quality control, time, everything one section. Second is the worst part, adverse cases, termination, suspension, dispute resolution, insurances, all the safeguard mechanism. So guys, at least these terms, these provision should be there in the contract. So then you open the index or the first page of the contract. Look, sir, your eyes should search for these items. Okay, there is a obligation is written. Okay, fine. There is a quality control mechanism. Good. Time is there. Payment is there. Now, secondly, okay, insurance is there. Suspension is there. Dispute solution is there. In security guarantee, everything is there. Okay, safe. Let's go. This is the second checkpoint or next level checkpoint. Now let us go to the in details and see how it will be measured, or how you going to reconcile or consider obligations of parties. This is now we going to deep into the details of the contract. So okay, so from the till the last stage we are looking from ceiling. Now it's our turn to open the contract page by page and see what been agreed is reflecting in the contract. If there any ambiguity, discrepancy is there. So that is basically you going to read the obligations, rights of the parties. So eventually, guys, the contract is formed as a result of a tender or a RFP or a RFQ. So you already know that what are the key responsibility, key obligation of the parties. So just in that perspective, keeping intent of the project, keeping procurement strategy in mind, you have to review the scope and responsibility of the parties. You remember, I was telling contractor, employer, and clients are the parties. Now let us see what are the obligations of the parties. Eventually, as a client, you have to make payment. You have to provide access to site. You may have to provide necessary permits. You have to provide work front. You have to provide commencement. This sounds very generic. I'm sure you guys are having really good amount of experience. You guys are working in the industry for years and years. So what are the, if it's a DNB contract, what are the obligation of client. If it's traditional form of contract, what is the obligation of the client. So your eyes, if you're a contractor curious, your eyes should search for those points where client's obligations are clearly stated? If not, what you going to do? So you mentioned, so say let's see only 3 points. You look into timely payment, you look into access of site, and you look into permits, approval, work front. So next you have to look risk part of it. Okay, obligations be written over there. I'm happy, very happy. What if those obligations are not met? What would I do? I cannot just stand and watch. What would I do? Do I have a remedy for that? See, indeed, we all enter into contract with good faith, but it doesn't mean that it's always contract is going in a good faith. If contract is going in good faith, we don't employers does not need a contract administrator or an arbitrator. But so we have to ensure when you go through the obligations of the contract, you have to check what is the remedy if that obligations are not met and how that is turned to a right for you. Their obligation is your right. So your right means you have a remedy for that if they breaches. So looking into obligation is pretty simple basically, because you have a clear RFP document will be there and it's clearly stated the scope of the work. And you know when you're bidding that's the scope of your work. So when you review the obligations, you eventually have to review what are the remedies if that obligations are not met. You have to secondly the contractor's obligations. If you as a contractor, if you're reviewing, you know that your scope of the work, but if something is there in the contract beyond your capacity, that point you have to highlight. You know, normally they have as a client they have to provide permits and all, initial building permits or whatever you call. But if they are asking you to take the permit, that's a big risk for you. Maybe you haven't placed for that. When the contractor's obligation, you if you're a contractor, you have to check with your sit with your tendering team, estimation department, and planning department to ensure whatever they write in the contract as your obligations is matching with the scope highlighted in the RFP or a tender document. If you are not praised for something and they include in the contract, you have to put a red flag and tell this is not in my contract. So first, when you look into client obligation, you identify client obligation against your risk and remedy for that. Secondly, when you look into contractor's obligation as a contractor, you have to ensure first whatever they write or typed over in the contract as your obligation is same as that of your estimation, the scope which estimation department has received. If not, you have to highlight those points and send back to employer. Dear employer, we haven't priced for this item. If you are not doing this thing, eventually you're going to run beyond your budget, because even though good faith, fair deals, everything matters. Sometimes, even though if a contract guy who doesn't know the history of RFP or tender was typing the contract, he will write everything in a standard way only. But maybe some negotiation which he doesn't aware. So those points, as a contractor, contract manager, or administrator, you are to ensure. Then even so that's the main important point as a contractor administrator. And if you're a subcontractor, you have to ensure your responsibilities, that it's not breaching your indemnity and the agreement is keeping you indemnity from any sort of damage or default from those side. So this is basically the key objective about the obligations of party. Let us go to see what is like now obligation we touch base. Let us see what are the next points that will helpful us in reviewing the contract. So risk and opportunity. I'm sure you heard of this risk and opportunity. If you're a contract administrator, quantity surveyor, or a contracts manager, guys, be ready with the risk and opportunity register whenever you start looking into contract. So I was telling first, look into obligation of the parties. Next, once you clear with the obligation, then you go to risk and opportunity. Why I'm telling, first you have to review obligations. If there is a mismatch or a discrepancy in obligation, there is no point you going to risk. You have to clarify scope, obligation, and responsibility first. Then you can go to risk allocation, because maybe that if you not clarify those things, you will treat that as a risk in the register, but eventually that you is not part of your scope or it's not being addressed. So first you address those part in the obligation. Now let's go to risk allocations and opportunity. In contract you can see many types of risk. Some risk you have to absorb, some risk you have to transfer, some risk you have to cover. Similarly, opportunity also you have to see such a way that how those risks can be converted into opportunity in other way. You also have to check how that opportunity may become a risk also. Let us say, let's say some sort of basic risk. Let me tell you something, guys. We are going to do a separate CPD purely on risk and opportunity. So in this CPD, we are just test basing the basics of risk and how do you going to manage that risk. Okay. So there will be payment risk, there will be contractual risk, there will be time risk, and there will be commercial risk, there will be performance risk. Many risks are there. So as I said, when you open the contract, you can start risk register. Imagine you open an Excel file, you starting heading risk register. First, commercial risk. Look into payment term. Payment term is 60 days. So that means for 60 days, you have to arrange money for the contract. When contract say 60 days payment term, it's 2 months. Okay. That means once you do the work for this month, after second 2 months only you getting your payment. That means for January work, you will get payment by end of the March. That means eventually 3 months you have to manage. That's a big risk in terms of cost or finance. So you have to make a remedy for the how I'm going to manage this risk. I cannot avoid this risk because payment terms said so. So can I negotiate for this? Can I ask for advance payment, or can I arrange a bank loan? So this perspective you have to look into, like how I'm going to mitigate this risk. Then they asking for retention 20 percentage. Again, risk. Normally, what you anticipate 10% risk. No, they asking 20% risk. That also a hit to your what do you call that? Cash flow. So how do you going to manage that risk? Can I ask for early release of payment by submitting a bond? Then performance security. DLP period more than 2 years. How do you going to manage that? Then some you also have to think in this perspective. If I take some insurance, can I cover those risks? If you're foreseeing some delay damage, can I take a risk to cover my insurance to cover my delay damage? If customs clearance of goods are your responsibility, but there is a lot of complication with that. So can I transfer this risk to employer and ask employer, you take this responsibility? Or how to avoid this kind of risk? There is a delay damage. So if I delay the project, I'm going to pay damages. So how can I recover that? So this kind of all risk you're going to identify and plot in your contract. And you also categorize the risk based on severity, types of occurrence, and you also mention the mitigation, how I'm going to mitigate. Similarly, your opportunities. See, when there's a risk, there's opportunity. Always contract is a sine wave. That is not always go up. There will be 0 1 0 1 sine wave. So if there's a risk, there is eventually there's opportunity. So if there is a 60 days payment term means you can consider that amount of money you're going to arrange, the interest you may pay to the bank, you can take that money and price include in your bid. Okay. And if the contract duration is significantly high, and if you think you can do the work before that, it's an opportunity. You crack your program, revise the program, finish the work before 2 3 months, so that you will get early release of retention money. You can move from the contract. That's an opportunity for you. Then value engineering proposals, you can submit and get benefit out of it. That's also an opportunity for you. So this way you have to look into risk and opportunity of the contract. So why I'm not going into details, because next CPD from Q service purely on risk and opportunity. Okay, let's see next point which you have to look into when you reviewing a contract. So we start from the purpose of contract. You understand the purpose of contract. Second, you look into the principles, items of contract. Yes, all that met. Then you look into sufficiency of the contract terms like payment mechanism, obligation of party, dispute resolution, insurances. Then you look into obligation of party. Once you identify the obligation of party, then you look into risks and opportunity. Guys, your all scope gap or all your so whatever scope details, which missing details, adding details, everything is you going to identify under risk and opportunity register. Your indemnification, your liability part of it. If you're a subcontractor, contractor is nominating a contractor to you. So how they are going to indemnify you from their default, how this subcontract will indemnify you, if this subcontract delayed you, how you going to manage. Also this all this kind of, and your liabilities, if liability is 100 percentage, if liability is 200 percentage, and PI insurance, when to cover, what to cover, and the policies and insurances, whatever they want, the coverage of insurances, all these are you have to cover in risk and opportunity register. So basically the main review part of the contract will be captured in the risk and opportunity. So once that is been done, you have to see how you safeguarding yourself. If you are an employer or a contractor, you have to safeguard, right? So that is the place where you providing a shield to your contract. Be you are an employer, if you are a contractor also, at this point you have to look as a shield. Even though you have all the risk register, you have all the opportunities, and you have everything as called obligation, you principle. But what if you don't have a proper safeguard mechanism? Imagine as an employer, contract does not have performance security. There is no provision for insurance. There is no provision for dispute mechanism. There is no provision for indemnification. There is no provision for LD. There is no termination clause. There is those kind of safeguard mechanism you have to look into. So basically, safeguard means guarantees, indemnification, securities, and insurances. So you have to ensure there are sufficient insurance are in place, like insurance for the work, for the plant equipment, for the workman compensation, your PI insurance, then your property owners insurance after the DLP, third party insurance, third party liability. All these insurance should be in place. When I say all these insurances, you have to read and write in context your contract. As per your contract, what are the insurance to be required as you think that should be in place. So first safeguard you did. You did a shielding for your company, first thing. Now let us look into security part. Insurance is placed, okay? That means an insurance provider step in and he go into safeguard you. But that's purely for accident and damages, default and all. But what if the contractual breach is there? How are you going to safeguard that? Physical loss, yes, you have insurance. Now let us the contractual loss. What are you going to do? So that means you need to have a performance security, maybe advanced payment mechanism. Sorry, security, retention, retention guarantee and security, and this DLP period coverage mechanism, collateral warranties, then warranties of manufacturers. All these things should be in place. So in place means You have to ensure there is a provision in the contract for all those things. There is a provision for performance securities. Yes, I'm happy. There is a provision for the warranties. Yes, I'm happy. There is for a collateral warranty. Collateral warranty means, in a contract, the first rule is only party in the contract can sue each other. If me and friend is entered into the contract, so we both can sue each other. A third party cannot sue actually. That means if an employer, there's an employer, there is a contractor, and there's a subcontractor. So subcontractor is the contract between the main contractor and he. Even though he working for the client, but client cannot sue him because of privity of contract. So privity of contract is a term that protect a contract from the interfering of a third party. So to overcome this, because employer is the man who pay the money, but still he cannot involve into the contract issues. To cover that, there is a mechanism called collateral warranty, which is a tri-party agreement between employer, contractor, and subcontractor. Okay, so those things should be there. So, and also you will be buying a lot of equipments, so you have to check that warranty from manufacturer are in place. Okay, so this is basically how do you safeguard, how do you waterproof your contract. Let us see the next session, like after the safeguarding, what would you do in terms of contractual arrangement. So I think I explained termination clause already. Liquidated damage, yes, we covered already. So okay, guys, let us go to the next slide and see the last few sessions of the items which we should consider while reviewing the contract, which is dispute and remedies. Why it is so important in the contract to address dispute and remedies? Because when you enter into the contract, like we all like having honeymoon. First few months will be like honeymoon period. Whatever husband say, wife say yes. Whatever wife say, husband say yes. Similarly, the contract also you can see same mechanism. But we don't want a divorce in a contract, like the termination in the contract. So cover those to prevent from going contract into adverse situation, so that party will forever lose the relationship. For that, we need to have dispute resolution and remedies mechanism. Dispute and conflict is common in the contract. You cannot imagine a contract will go without a dispute or a conflict. There will be a dispute in the contract. There will be a conflict in the contract. Similarly, like, there will be issue between husband and wife. Similarly, we have problems, issues, conflict, friction, everything is there in the contract. But why we need a dispute mechanism? Because even though there is a fight, we don't want to go to adverse stage and like kind of termination, those kind of mechanism. To avoid that or to resolve dispute in a fair way, in a win-win way, so that the relationship will not lose forever, you need to have dispute resolution mechanism. So this is after safeguard provision, you have to look into dispute and resolution mechanisms. Just check what is the resolution mechanism in the contract. Is it arbitration? Is it litigation? So you need to think in such a way that if litigation is the mechanism that's been adverse, you go into court. There is no comeback after you go to court. So is that making sense to you? Because a good client of you or a good contractor of you, guys, don't think client always have the upper hand. Client respect the contractor also, because if he's a good contractor, if you as a client, if you treat the contractor in a good way, you also getting benefit from him. He will treat you in the best way also. So if you put litigation as a dispute mechanism, you can tell like, see guys, we keep dispute resolution as litigation. I think that's the adverse mechanism. In my view, as a contract administrator, you would say to your client that I know litigation is the mechanism, but I think we have to consider some alternative non-adverse mechanism like negotiation, mediation, or a conciliation, expert opinion like that, because that will eventually help us to resolve the mechanism in a good faith and fair deal. If you go to litigation, guys, that's the end of the relationship, just like a divorce. So that thing you have to look, and you have to advise your management. If you're a contractor also, if you are a client also, you have to advise and rethink. Should I keep litigation? Can we keep arbitration instead of that? So these things you have to look into. And again, if there is a dispute, if there is a breach, how do you going to cover that? Do I have a damage provision for that? Do I have a specific performance token for that? Do I have a termination for that? So in the contract, after safeguard, you have to look dispute and its remedy mechanism. Yes, let's go to the next section, which is the force majeure and frustration. So, have you heard of force majeure and frustration? What is this force majeure and frustration? How I have to look into this contract? When I'm reviewing the contract, why should I go through these two clauses in the contract? You might be thinking like, this is when there is a force majeure or there's the end of the contract, why I should worry about that? Even though it's the end of the contract, you have to think in such a way, when there is an adverse condition and your contract is going to end, which is impossible to perform, still how I would manage, how I would move forward, those things you have to keep in your mind. As you know, a force majeure or a frustration eventually means there is no chance you can perform the contract. In case of force majeure, that means those items identified under the contract. You can see in your FIDIC form or any standard form of a contract, some listed item which known as force majeure. So that means if those events are occurred, there is contracts going to force majeure. There is no way you can proceed the contract. But if you look into the clauses, you can see some remedies in that force also. You have to always prepare for the best case and the worst case. So in the worst case scenario, where force majeure happened, what would you do? What would you do as a employer? What would you do as a contractor? Imagine for international contractor, he is coming to UAE from some other country. He mobilized everybody, all the team here. So from strange reason, force majeure happened and contract become impossible to perform. What would you do? And it's purely beyond the control of the party. The poor contractor demob his complete team, right? He bring his plans, equipment, a lot of money. So what would you do? So you have to see some sympathy for him. You cannot just say like, it's not my control, it's force majeure, you go to your home country. There are some remedies. If there is no remedies, you should tell your management, dear management, I review the contract under force majeure, we don't have any protection, okay? Something happened, we have to just go back, and that will a big commercial impact for us. So those things you have to tell them. So just look in, you should say to him, let us look into repatriation possibility. Would they help us to send us back? Would they pay us a claim? Would they compensate in a reasonable way? All those things you ought to look into. And frustration of a contract, eventually you know that it's not a contractual mechanism. Because of some external factor, the contract become impossible to perform and that become frustrated. So what is the mechanism you can address? You should think whether I can include those into the contract through an implied term. Imagine when there is a separation between two countries, the countries split into two. Okay, then if there will be some traders happening between these two countries previously, when it's separated, it become two state nations, two different laws, two different currencies, two law also. So there could be a possibility of frustration, and there will be two countries. Initially, they are very friendly countries. Suddenly, they become alien countries, foreign enemies. That contract may become frustrated also. In this scenario, what you're going to insert in the contract to minimize your losses? You cannot recover the losses, at least minimize the losses. So to conclude, we opened from the beginning, understanding the purpose to review points of the contract we touch base. Upfront, I'm telling the risk opportunity parts, we just walk across the ceiling because our next CPD is purely for that part. But apart from that, when you have a contract, now we know like where to start, how to read. We are going to prepare a detailed Excel checklist and we will be circulating to the participant in a 2 or 3 days time, so that you can use as a reference to review the contract. Eventually, you need to have a lot of experience to review the contract. Theoretical part is separate, but the practical part eventually make difference. But however, if you are a fresh quantity surveyor or a mid-level quantity surveyor and your manager handed over a contract to you, now you know at least where to start. Now you can tell your manager, dear manager, there is no consideration in this contract, so it's a void contract. Dear manager, the offer is not unconditional or acceptance is not unconditional. I think it's a void contract. The party who signed the contract has no capacity, so I think it's not a valid contract. Then you can also say there is no safeguard mechanism here. Our rights are not protected. There's no confidentiality for this. Obligation of party is there, but I'm afraid there is no remedy if there is obligations are not met. They put some obligation which is not our capacity. How do you going to? Dear manager, indemnification is there, but again, subcontractors indemnification is not there. Guys, don't worry. Indemnity, liability, risk, everything coming in risk and opportunity that we will look in separately. At least I want you to understand the safeguard mechanism, dispute resolution mechanism, force majeure frustration mechanism is there, and how do you covering that. So I'm just concluding this session. I hope you understand. If you are someone who attend my previous session and this session, I hope by now you should be able to understand the basics of contract and the review of the contract. I'm sure by you understand the risk of the contract, you will be a pro in the contract review and management. So why we choose this contract and management topics? Because construction contracts are critical for project success. If something went wrong, entire project is going to face that issues. And clear, comprehensive clauses reduce risk and disputes. Understanding obligation, risk, and safeguard is essential to protect the rights of the parties. So this is the reason we are giving a lot of importance and spending a lot of time for CPDs purely focused on contracts and administration. I know it's just a 1 hour session and there is a limitations to cover in detail. But again, we just tried our level best to ensure the main points are covered and you got a comprehensive idea about the project. Sorry, contracts. So guys, I'm just wrapping this section. If you have any question, I'm happy to answer. You can type question in the chat section or you can ask also. Thank you guys.
Hello, Maiden. This is Mudassir Hussain.
Hello? Yes. Who is
Uh,
this?
Again, Mudassir here.
Mudassir, welcome. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. All
I
good.
think you are
And
there our
same.
last session also, I believe.
Yes, I attended your last session as well.
Yes, yes.
First of all, thank you very much again. Great session we have. My question is collateral warranty you talked about.
Yeah.
What can you explain it? I missed the main part of that
Okay. No
collateral
worries. I can
warranty.
explain. So collateral warranty. First, let me talk about privity of contract.
Yeah.
Privity of contract means it's a legal doctrine. It's a legal protection. Okay. So there is a contract between you and me. Only we can fight each other. Okay. Mudassir and Mithun can sue each other or fight each other. But a third party cannot sue or involve in the contract. So imagine you are a subcontractor and I am the main contractor. Okay. And we both working for the client. And client is the man who paying for us. Okay. Even he is the guy who paying for us. If some issue or friction happen between you and me, he cannot involve. That is called privity of contract. The privity of contract preventing him from involving in the issues, even though we both work for the client. Okay. So that's not right, right? The client is paying the money and the project is for his benefit. Still, we are telling, no, no, you stay away from this issue. We can manage it. To cover this problem, there is a provision called third party rights, because anybody outside the contract is third party. Mudassir and Midun is the parties of the contract. A client is not party, he's the third party of the contract. And to ensure some rights for this guy, there is an agreement, tri-party agreement called collateral warranty. In that agreement, I will be the party, you will be the party, and client also will be the party. So client can control those things. If I'm a subcontractor and you are a contractor, okay, the contract is between you and me. And unfortunately, as a subcontractor, I am ready to perform my work. But as a main contractor, you are non-responsive and you are not replying to client and all. In this time, client can directly deal with the subcontractor and do the work done through this collateral warranty. Clear?
Yes, it is clear. And what is the procedure of submitting collateral warranty? Is it a separate warranty?
It's a separate,
And who?
it's separate agreement, warranty or agreement. It's looks like an agreement actually. Three parties will be there. Party one, contractor. Party two, subcontractor. Party three, employer or a client. And wording will be like, three parties herewith agreed to enter into a collateral warranty so that in the event of breach of any of this party, employer can step in, or they can remedy mechanism can be provided. Imagine, Mudassir, if some supplier, okay, some supplier is supplying high value items, okay. So as an employer, you cannot go always to first contractor, then go to subcontractor, then go to supplier. So what you, as an employer, what you want, you have to directly call supplier and tell him, come, there is an issue in the equipment, come do remedy, replace it. That's what you want to say, right? You cannot round through contractor, then to subcontractor, then to supplier. So now through this collateral warranty, you create a contractual link between the parties. Clear? It will be
Yes,
looks like a contract actually. It looks like contract. It will have parties. It will have obligation. It will have a responsibility. It will have remedy clauses. It will have a termination. Everything will be there. Imagine
okay.
a small contract.
Yeah, you continue,
Clear?
please.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mudassir.
My question is,
Hi.
same as client can enter and ask the subcontractor. Subcontractor can also approach to client in case of main contractor issue with subcontractor.
That depends on the wording purely. I know. Are you talking about some payment delay issues?
Yeah.
No, that is something else, Mudassir. That is,
Hi, brother.
Okay. Okay.
hello.
Midun,
Who is this?
hi, how are you? Myself, Murugan.
Hi, Murugan.
Uh,
Good evening.
Thank you. This collateral warranty is a new thing I learned today. Thank you so much. Actually, I want to know whether you prepared or based on your experience, can you any case study you have for this collateral warranty? Can you share with us a
Case
particular case study?
study, when you say case study, what do you mean by like exactly? Like you want me to explain some issue which I faced or
Yeah, exactly. So where you used this collateral warranty with example, because
okay.
currently we are having so many subcontractors, and that
Yeah.
those who are managed by main contractors.
Yeah.
So the subcontractor comprises of many varieties. Some people supplying pipes, some people are as a subcontractor working in excavation and other items. So,
Can you tell me which field you're working?
I'm working in water network,
Water, potable water.
potable water.
So let's say you know about NDRC work, right? Microtunneling.
Yeah,
So that's very critical issue, right? It's not a
yeah,
easy scope. It's a very critical scope of work.
yeah.
And normally it will be under an infra contractor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Micro
sometimes,
tunneling. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And
Mm,
some cases, if it's a master development, the infra will be under main contractor.
yes,
But unfortunately, the main contract is between the client and the main contractor.
yes,
And he don't have any mechanism or contractual link if the subcontractor of microtunneling had did a breach, because
yes,
that would be normally designed and built by the NDRC contractor.
yes.
Because of his due diligence issue or some issue, if something happened, if there is
Mm,
something happened, the poor client will not have a right direct mechanism to hit him hard.
mm,
So okay, so by this collateral warranty, now we will but upfront we have tell in the tender, Murugan, like we may need a collateral warranty bit with all of your key subcontractors, whoever handling a design scope. Because if
mm,
somebody just coming and installing a light fitting, you don't need that, right?
exactly. Mm,
But work like a micro tunneling or a vacuum system, the sewerage vacuum system, is
mm,
something is that it has a design intent and it has a operational intent also. If some went wrong, the entire operation is gone. So
mm,
in this perspective, you have telling upfront in RFP, I need a subcontractor has to provide me a collateral warranty which should address penalty. No, I won't say sorry, penalty, damages. In the
mm,
case of a breach, how I'm going to cover my damages.
mm,
That will be directly recovered from this subcontractor or whoever. He will use some the PI
mm.
insurance, but PI insurance will not be coming to client maybe. That he may
But
be submitting to the
mostly, but
yeah.
mostly, we can sue the main contractor for anything
But what is the
the
benefit I'm
mistakes
getting
done
as a
by the
client?
subcontractor.
Yeah, but see, think of a
Mm,
client. Okay, I'm suing a contractor, but still I am in the
mm,
losing stage. My project is in delay. My project is in suffering. As a
mm,
client, I don't want to be in that situation.
mm,
Imagine you are constructing a building, okay, for your home, okay, and some of your supplier or a sub vendor in the supply chain made an issue.
hello.
Hello,
Mm.
can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so because of a breach or a issue by one of your vendor or a supplier, now you cannot stay in your home. Your home project is under postage. So there is no
Mm,
point if you if you sue the main contractor, your intent function is not fulfilling. The
mm,
best case, call that guy who made the issue, do it right away, or else I'm going to sue you at court.
mm,
Directly calling and telling I have the right to sue you. I have the right to damage. Sometimes collateral warranty can be tie up to monetary also. Okay,
okay, brother.
not all the cases. Yeah.
Okay, brother. Thank you.
Did I explain correctly or
Yeah,
clear with
yeah,
you?
yeah. Thank. Thank you,
Because
brother.
Mudassir and Murugapan both asked the same question. Even Jisha also asked same question about the collateral guarantee. I think I explained. If it's clear.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
who is
Mr.
this?
Midon. Daniel here.
Hey, Daniel. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, sir. I have question with the collateral warranty.
Go ahead.
What is the scope of the collateral warranty, and what's the relation of it with the manufacturer warranty?
Okay. So manufacturer warranty basically it's more like a functional warranty. If you buying say which field you're working, Dan?
Main contractor, but I'm in MEP.
Okay. Let's talk about generators. You're buying a generator. Okay. You're buying a generator that's purely have functional requirement. It's going to function as per the requirement. So what you want is basically a manufacturer warranty, because there is no service as called service scope associated with that scope. But instead of that, imagine someone who is doing BMS service for you or a fire alarm service. That has a criticality, right? Because you are a main
Yes.
contractor. In client perspective, you are a main contractor. Under that, you have a MEP contractor, and under a MEP contractor, usually there will be a BMS and fire alarm contractor, someone like a Honeywell or a Johnson Control, right?
Yes.
And BMS and fire alarm very important in terms of civil defense. If something went
Yes.
wrong, he cannot go to the main contractor, then go to MEP contractor, and then MEP contractor go to this this subcontractor and get things resolved. Since considering the criticality of that issue, he need to have this agreement. Why this agreement is important? When manufacturer warranty is prepared, this manufacturer warranty for the generator or switch gears or not FU, FH or AHU, something like that, there will be a form in the contract, because employer client will give you a format and he will tell you he want the warranty in that format, right?
Yes.
So that is, in that case, he will put his name for sure. He will put his name as a principal. So there is a direct contractual link to the employer. So there's no problem. But whereas a service like a BMS, fire alarm, there is no mechanism to cover that.
So you
So
mean to
that,
say
yeah,
the collateral warranty is for a workmanship, covers
workmanship,
workmanship.
not just workmanship, entire service, I would say, for the entire scope of the work.
But how about the material defects?
Material defects will not be covered in collateral warranty. That's not part of collateral warranty. That is covering in patent if it's a defects. It's a defect, right? Material is a defects. So once material is received, you did the MIR. You're talking about that stage or after that stage?
No, I'm trying to understand the because what I understand, collateral warranty gets you up to like 12 years. But if you have another that that is a responsibility of the MEP, or let's say the MEP subcontractor,
Yeah.
does that warranty includes the material defect or only the workmanship?
I think we are just going other way around actually. So if there is a workmanship issue, that is purely responsible the contractor. That's not covered through the collateral warranty. That is a hit to his due diligence. And if you heard of which country you're working?
UAE.
UAE. So have you heard of decision liability?
Yes.
So structural workmanship material issues will be covered in that.
I see.
Okay.
Okay. Understood.
Okay then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Sharif Aman asked me a question. Can you please cover a few questions on contract review from APC interview point of view? Sarif, actually,
Uh,
there.
Midun, can you share any sample collateral warranty if you have anything you did something so that
To
we'll
be
come to
honest,
know?
Murugan, I cannot share because there is a confidentiality agreement always, and agreement always have confidentiality. So let me take you the first lesson I took confidentiality. I'm sorry, I cannot share it that because it will has the name of the contractors, employer,
No,
and
you can strike
subcontractor.
out everything. Just what are
I
the
will
things?
check. I will check if I have a draft. I can share with you. Let me
Yeah.
have to look into that. If I have something like a draft, I can share with you. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
You
hope
can
you
strike
all.
out everything. Like you told that for a contract renewal purpose, what are the things we need to consider? You told that we will share Excel points. Like
I
that, in
understand.
terms of collateral warranty, what are the points we need to consider in drafting collateral warranty? We need to
No
know.
problem. I understand your concerns. Even definitely, I will look into that. So, but give me some time. I
No
will
problem.
look into
And
some
you did
point.
a great job, Midun, because this collateral warranty is completely a new thing which I learned today, and thanks to you.
No problem, Mrugapan. It's my pleasure, not a problem. And eventually, we will. I may take a week time, but I will try to share as much of documents. I'm sure Murugapan and Dan asked me question on that, so I will try to give some lights on that, so that if you read or go through that, you will understand more.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And Sarif, come to your question. Can you please cover a few questions of contract review from APC interview point of view? To be honest, these section will be coming in APC from a contract practice, okay? But contract practice, I never heard somebody ask you about how you going to review the contract. There is a maybe they will ask you like what are the points you will look into when you amend the contract, or when you prepare a particular condition, what are the clauses you will look into. That could be a question. And they may ask you when you convert a lump sum contract to remeasure contract, what are the points you will check. And they may ask you like how do you indemnify your contractor from, or not contractor, how do you indemnify your contractor from nomination? Or if you are a main contractor, how do you indemnify yourself from a nomination of subcontractor? And they may ask you some question from FIDIC mainly, in contract practice. And there will be a question for sure about the definition of contract and main contents of contract, like offer, acceptance, consideration, all those things. That will be a question. And there will be a question like risk and opportunity. How do you manage the risk? How do you go to manage the opportunity? And there will be a question from insurance for sure, like type of insurance and type of insurance types of like make different insurance. What do you call that? Methods like OSIP, CSIP. Those questions will be there. And to what else? There will be question from retention bonds, guarantees, performance security, and all. These are something coming to my mind right now. But eventually, it's not limited. There will be 100 questions for sure. Because what I explained, basically contracts and its management only. But APC in RSS interview, entire contract practice will be coming in a single. And that covers claims also. So anything can be asked. Thank you.
Hi, Mithun.
Yes, who's
Yeah,
this?
this is Ragesh.
Hi, Ragesh.
Actually,
Good evening.
yeah, good evening, good evening. I just was not able to attend this session. I was lately joined in the class. So can you
Okay.
please, if you have a recording of this, can you please share
It
that?
will be shared, Ragesh. It will be shared for sure.
Yeah.
So recording will be shared in 1 or 2 days time in our LinkedIn profile. You can see the SharePoint access will be shared in LinkedIn profile, and the PPT also will be shared in the LinkedIn profile.
Oh, that will be great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure, Ragesh. Not a problem.
Thanks.
Mudassir here, I have a question.
Yeah, Mudassir.
While reviewing a contract agreement, like
Yeah.
you shared the great tools here and tips,
Yeah.
this is the same process after which we prepare a contract appreciation document.
Contract So if you're preparing contract document, right? That's the question.
No, contract appreciation document,
Contract
PAP.
appreciation documents, to be honest, that's a very new term for me, Mudassir. What is that? What you do exactly?
Uh, uh, in contract appreciation document, actually we review the contract and extract main terms and conditions, like these are important payment and time related and DRM. So these terms and main terms we extract and prepare a document, I guess, which is called contract appreciation document, which
Okay.
have key terms and conditions and all these things in a format.
So, and you share with who?
If I am working with a contractor, so all these terms which we have to check beforehand. So we make a contract appreciation document extracting those important terms, and we can discuss only those, and those are
Okay,
important.
so you review the contract and whichever you think there is a disputed or which we have to have a second level negotiation, you will highlight and discuss. That's what you're telling.
Yeah, we include all these terms, like force majeure, penalties, and
Mm.
payment terms, and risk, all these. And we prepare a separate document, which is, I guess, called contract appreciation document.
Okay.
That's why, because
See,
it
eventually,
is
if
the
you
same
want to
procedure
prepare a
for billing
document
and
such as called application document, you need to start from the very basic, like uh, but if the contract is if fulfilled all the requirement, then you will be looking into mainly obligation the clauses only, right? You will identify from the clauses what are the risk opportunity that will be described, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's
and
more
all
like
payment terms.
administration review, Mudassir, not the full contract review. Because in
Yeah,
contract, more than the terms, you will be looking into that uh, obligation, liability, indemnification, and secure safeguard. But the PAP, what you said is basically you looking into the clauses and terms, and then you discuss. That's more into administrative management.
yeah,
So that I would say, like, good if you could consider all other terms also, because you will be able to pick many items which may not look risk in first look, but if you consider this perspective in your mind, that will be a risk for you. Because when you're reviewing the terms, you tend to look in main into payment terms, quality process, time schedule, delay damage, LD, those things you will be directly looking into. But there will be something which you have not noticed, like indemnification and liability. But when you approach keeping those things in mind, you will be able to add more item to your Excel file.
yes. Okay, got it.
Thank you, Mudasir.
Yeah.
If you have any further question, you can ask me. I'm here. I'm staying here for sure. If you don't have much question, you can, sign out. Thank you for participating also.
Just a query, are we receiving certificate this time?
I think
CPD,
yes.
to claim our
Yes.
CPD?
Yes. I think yes.
That would be great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mercy. Thank you for participating. Much appreciated. I'm still staying here, guys. If you have any doubt, you can post. We'll stay here for 10-20 minutes more. But if no doubt, you can sign out. And good night.
Sir, I have one question, sir.
Yes, Dan.
Daniel here. Yes. Regarding LOA, letter of acceptance,
Yeah.
do we have like format, or what are the key issue, key or the, what do you call this, the, like the format, or what to write in the LOA, or what to expect
In LOA,
in the
I
LOA.
mean, the contents that should be there in LOA, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
always start with the parties, address to, I'm just explaining as a word file, okay? Start obviously to the company name, attention to that company's general manager. And then you start with this purpose of this LOA is to award contract of scope, say supply installation of MEP system to the contract for our contract sum of this value. So the first thing, or else you also you can prepare LOA, party contractor, then employer, and you can mention in the bracket the contractor. So imagine I'm talking in MEP perspective, okay? And imagine a contract between a main contractor and the MEP contractor. Okay, so Alec is the main contractor and LMCO is the MEP contractor. Okay, so I will write first Alec and details, and the bracket I will put hereafter called as contractor or a party one, something like that. Then I will write party two. LMCO is address and then put hereafter called as a party two or a second party. So then I will write party one here with agree to enter into a contract with party two for the supply installation of the work for an amount of 10 million, 20 million or whatever. Then I will put this LOA is formed based on the RFP documents you are. I will list out the items based on what LOA is formed. Then I will write this LOA is formed based on the below document. So first, their offer reference. Second, the RFP details, particular conditions, then specification, drawings, TQ, and all those things you will list. Then third section you will mention the contractors expect to complete the work within that duration. That's okay. Then next section you will mention this LOA is a mutually agreement document and commencement shall be issued in a later date. Then you will write, if any dispute occurred between the contractor, party 1 and party 2 in pertain to this contract shall be treated under, DIAC or some dispute resolution mechanism. So LOA is a small contract actually, Daniel.
Mhm. Okay.
Clear?
Clear. Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you, Daniel. Sharif asked me what is the condition of contract.
Also, can I just
Who's
then
this?
add something else, Ragesh, to
Yeah,
that
Rakesh.
LOA? Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we mention that you need to submit the insurance and the bonds also along with that
So
within certain
Rakesh,
duration? Yeah.
usually in RFP, because I mentioned the list of documents. So RFP also part of the list. So in RFP,
Okay.
we'll mention
Okay.
like all these details.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got it. Got it. Yeah. Thanks.
Rakesh.
And one more question with it.
Go ahead,
This
please.
collateral warranty, what you mentioned,
Yeah.
in that,
Yeah.
is this to be added in the tender document itself that from the beginning, right
Collateral
from the beginning?
warrant to be provided, right? That should be added actually, because that's an amount of money, because you will be getting this guarantee from a bank, and subcontractor eventually has to go to the bank, pay a premium, and get that warranty. So if you are not mentioned and ask for this, that is the deviation from the contract. So if you mention upfront, they know already this has to be provided. Then there
Okay.
is no dispute in administration. If not, they will say, no, there's nothing mentioned in the contract. Why should I provide the warranty now? It's the money for
Yeah.
me. Would you pay me that? Plus the risk for me. I haven't anticipated this third layer of risk or administration on me. I was anticipating only the main contractor will administrate me. Now you're telling client also will. I cannot be answerable to all those things, which I not anticipated. So that questions and ping pong will be the to avoid that, but always better to keep in.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Rakesh.
Thanks.
Sarif Amman asked some question like, what is condition of contract, general condition? Bro, this is like, it's a separate term actually. If I start explaining, I may need half an hour more to explain all this condition. So in a high level, I could say condition of contract is the general condition of contracts, like a FIDIC, like JCT, like NEC. So FIDIC Red Book, Yellow Book, Silver Book, all are general condition of contract. That means if it's a project in UAE and you doing a project in UAE for a villa, high-rise building, tower, all you can use that one. But particular condition means you are custom made, you put inserting some clauses to change the general condition. For example, in FIDIC, you can see payment term, clause number 14 says, certificate shall be issued within 28 days from the payment application. Okay, and payment shall be made within 56 days from the payment application as per FIDIC. That means from general condition. But if you are an employer, you don't want to pay him in 60 days. Sorry, instead of 56 days, you want to pay him 90 days. That clause you will amend in particular condition. So particular condition you will mention such a way that the clause number 14 point whatever shall be deleted and it shall be read as payment shall be made 90 days from the certificate, something like this. That's called uh, particular condition or a general condition. I hope that's give you some lights.
Hi, sir.
Yes, Daniel.
Regarding the performance bond or the advance payment bond,
Yeah.
as a contractor, is it it should be close ended, or it can the client is accepting close ended with uh, maybe undertaking to revalidate it
Should be
once
auto renewed actually.
auto renewed.
Auto renewed, yeah, because normally bank will not provide you open end as called open end. They always want a end date. But however, you can mention it's auto renewed.
So the bank will issue a close ended or
Yeah,
auto
it
renewed.
will auto renewal. Yeah. So in security, performance security format, you should mention it should be auto renewed until some criteria met. So in terms of in case of performance security, until the TLP period completed and performance certificate issued, it should be valid, right? So that's condition should be met. Until that, it should be auto renewed like that.
I see. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we will be doing separate session for this kind of administrative thing actually, because we just started with the contract and now you know how to review. Now we will go to step by step into administration and things. So that's what our intent.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. If you have any further question, you can reach up to us through the WhatsApp. Sorry, not through WhatsApp, through that mail ID. So we will reply back. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. I hope no other questions. Wrapping up. Thank you. Thank you very much, guys.